Hi, hello. How you doing? I'm Hayo and I'm with these guys, Stringify. It's good to have you around again, join today on this tutorial. This tutorial is a live session. I was just having a session with some couple of people and we decided to go into Azure DevOps and how I use it. So I'm sharing the video with you. Just a very simple tutorial to show you how you can use Azure DevOps as your source control for your Power Platform solution. And also, what if you make changes to that solution? You can also, commit or update those changes right on the repository. And that is what this particular tutorial is all about. So sit back, relax, and enjoy it. If you have any question at all, drop it in the comment section below. I'll be glad to answer those questions. See you right in the tutorial. Let's go, people.
Okay, good. All right. So we have a solution here that we can work with right now. Now, when it now comes to deploying to DevOps, now remember that naturally what we do is we would come here and then we will export the solution out. That is what we do in our standard Power Apps development. Now, when it now comes to doing this with DevOps, what do we then do? So what we do is this, right? Very simple, very straightforward thing. We're going to navigate to Azure DevOps. All right, so let's navigate to Azure DevOps. Okay, let me go to my DevOps organization. So if you're coming to DevOps for the very first time, you go to dev.azure.com. Make sure you have the license. You can create as many organizations as possible within the Azure DevOps instance. All right. And then you can set up projects. You can make your project public project or private project in this scenario. All right. Now, for the sake of this particular test we're about to do, I could do the test in the same project, or I could create a new project to house this particular action I'm about to do. But I think I'll just do a new thing so I can walk us through every of the step one after the other. So I would go for a new project, and I'll just call it, let's say, Power Apps, DevOps. So something like that. Yeah, I'll leave it the way it is. I'll create. All right. So I'll create this. So you can see that it's a blank repository, right? There's nothing in here and all of that. It's blank in the scenario. Now, after doing all of this, the next thing is you need to give access and have access to your repos and all of that in terms of performing some specific actions. So we'll go to project. I'll go to project settings. I'll navigate down to repositories. Under repositories, I would open up that particular project up and I'll go to security. All right. And then I'll look for project collection. You see the project collection build service. Project collection build service. You can see the one. You can see this one that says project tracking build service, right? So what I'm looking for is the project collection build service, not the account, not the anything. The very first one you saw, the project collection build service, and then I would set contribute to allow. All right, I'll do that. Set contribute to allow. By the time we are done creating all the elements we need, and we come back in here, we'll still come back and do a few things, like when we create the solution itself, we'll be back in here to now make to add one more security access that we would need for this to work. Okay, so let's go on. So I'll go back to my repository, right? My repository. And then you see in my repository, I need to initialize this repository. I need to initialize it so that it's available. So you add a README file and all of that. So I will initialize this repo. So you can see I have a repository here now that I can work with. And then there's a branch, that you can push to in this scenario, right? So there's a branch you can push to. Okay. So with that done, we can now go ahead and create a pipeline. All right, but now before you create a pipe, if I go to create pipeline, watch something carefully. If I go to create pipeline, everyone, if it is your first time, you need to first install the Power Platform build service. Build tools. I mean, the build tools is what allows you to perform or build tasks inside the Power Platform, repositories or the DevOps, as the case may be, right? You need to first do that. There's a link for that where you need to go to be able to install that. Let me show you. So marketplace.visualstudio.com. When you go there, you get it for free. It synchronizes with your organization. Then you are able to use all of the elements in the DevOps to achieve that. Okay, but for me, I currently have that, so I wouldn't go through that anymore. Now, if you're going to be using Git and all of that, you can go through all of those elements. But in our case, I'll just use the classic editor to kick off this. All right, and I'll just maintain what I have here. I will leave everything the way they are, and then I'll continue. All right. So is none of this is the function we are using. So we're not using any of these as our dev function. So because we're not doing that, we'll just I'll just say empty job. I'll start this whole project as an empty job. All right, and then I want you to see something. So now this is where you write the task. This is where you have the task for your project. All right, but the very first thing we want to do is be able to commit or push our Power Platform project, right? Push it down into Azure DevOps. We want to be able to have it on Azure DevOps and our source control sitting live within Azure DevOps. All right, that's one of the things we want to be able to do. All right, so let's start. First thing is, so if I click on agent job, everybody, agent job, I'll come here and allow script, because this is the script you eventually write to push your work out. So you need to allow script. So I'll do that. I would allow script. Cool. If you're following me, if you're still following me, give me thumbs up. Give me thumbs up. If you're still following me, give me thumbs up. Okay, cool. Then for any task you are doing with the Power Platform, for any task at all you're doing with the Power Platform, the very first thing is you must bring in what we call the Power Platform tool installer. Now, if I click on this plus icon here, you can see that it's asking me to bring in any of my build tools that I want to use. In our case, it's Power Platform, right? So if you type Power Platform, you see that it will return all the Power Platform. See the different things we're able to do. You can import solution, backup an environment, solution upgrade, quite a few things we can do, right, in this scenario. But at least let's do the very first one of pulling our project from a Power Platform environment and dumping it right in here. Cool. At least let's do that one first. So in doing that, first thing first, you want to bring in the Power Platform tool installer. This is like the trigger for anything within the Power Platform. It does not require anything. I'm not adding anything. I'm not doing anything. It's blank, empty. I'm not touching any element at all on there. Okay. The only thing I will do is I will probably come here and uncheck this shallow fetch later, because it might block us from being able to deploy our application later. So I'll probably come and uncheck that. But apart from that, everything is the same. So bring in your tool installer, after the tool installer, the next action is to export your solution. So how does this happen? You export the solution from the environment and then you unpack the solution into the repository. Simple. Export from the environment, unpack into the solution. So to do that, what are we doing? We'll go to agent job, and then you bring in another job and call it, just type again, Power Platform. Yeah, and I'll look for the Power Platform export solution. All right, export solution. See that this is it. I will add the guy, export solution. After you export solution, the next thing is to unpack, but let's do the export first. Now watch this carefully. At the point of exporting the solution, is asking me how do I want to authenticate. So there are different methods. You can use the username and password with no MFA, which, like I said, is always very good to use the secured one, or you might want to go the service principal, right? Let's use the standard one first. All right. When we want to push to production, we will use the service principal. All right. Now, what is it asking you for here? Service connection. This is where DevOps and your environment wants to connect. Are you following me? This is where DevOps and your environment wants to connect. So while the time you can just click on manage. Either you click on manage right from here, or you can go to project settings right here. All right, and then you'll see service connection. But let's just go from here. So just click on manage, and then we'll create service connection. Can you see project is under project settings, service connections? So we'll click on create service connections, and so there's a new update. Initially I used to use generic. I'll just pick generic, or if you have a standard Azure license, all right, if you have a Azure license, proper Azure license, you can go for ARM, Azure Resource Manager. But if you don't have that license, initially I would use generic, but now Microsoft has created something here called the Power Platform Connection. I have used it with the service principal, but not with the standard. But let me check with the standard. Let me check if it's going to. So you see that it's asking me for tenant ID and all of those things, right? Which I would like to show us when we are pushing to production. So for that case, I might want to go back and then use generic. Let me see if hopefully if the generic fails at the point of deployment, we'll probably come back and use this guy. But first, let's use the generic. So I just want to show us both ends. All right. So let's go. So you can see it's asking me for server URL. What is server URL? Your environment URL. So let's take a quick dive into the environment. I think our dev environment is the Adams environment. So let's open up the Adams environment and let's copy the environment URL. So I'll just copy that link and then I'll go back into DevOps and then I'll paste. All right, just paste it back in there. All right, good. And it's asking me for my username and password. I'll just do that. I'll paste all right, stringify.ts.com. Good. For my password, all right, good. And then for the connection name, let's just call it dev test. So let's call it dev test, and then I will grant access to our pipeline. Hope you're following me. Then I'll save. So I've created a connection that I want to use. So this is the connection between my DevOps and my Adams environment. Cool. All right. So after doing that, I'll close that up. Oops. What did I do? Yeah. So I'm back here now in my task. So right in my task, if I click on the drop down on the service connection, you can see that the dev test is right here now, right? Dev test. So I can select that dev test. For this environment URL, that for now you don't need it. You can leave it blank. Then for the solution name, this is where it gets interesting. So the solution name, one of the things that I like to do, and I think it's a standard practice, is set a variable. The same way we'll do it when we're writing codes. Set a variable and then call the variable in a different place that you can then use. All right, along the line. So it's very good to do that. When you set variables like that, then you can call them and use them and reuse them again in different places. So these are some of the DevOps file names you can enjoy. So I can easily come here and call this variable, and let me say I would name it solution name. Yeah, for my solution name. Then it's asking me for my output file. So which file are you sending out? Remember that if you go to Power Apps manually to export a solution, you export it as a zipped file, right? As a zipped file. So when you are doing this also, run the output file as what? As a zipped file. Are you getting the idea? As a zipped file. So we will use one of the Azure Active Directory structure, and it's asking me, do I want to export as managed? This is what I'm saying. Managed, unmanaged. Power Platform exportation of solution is either unmanaged or managed. So if you wanted it as managed, probably you're deploying to production, to UAT, you export as managed. But for the sake of this, I will leave all of that. You can always check that box if you're doing yours. All right. So let's look at it. So let's bring in one of the Azure DevOps directory structure. So how do we do that? I'll call the variable again, open this up, and I will say build dot. So we'll build it as an artifact. An artifact is like a project file. So we'll say artifact. All right, artifact staging. So what I'm typing, everybody, it is a standard all right, it's a standard directory structure that you can always use. So it's not like there's any spectacular thing. So, and then I will now bring in my solution name. You see that? You see the beauty now? Solution name. And then I'll close and I will say .zip. So what am I doing now? I'm saying I'm zipping that solution. I'm bundling it as what? As a zipped file. Cool. So once you do that, all right, literally there's nothing else to be done. Literally there's nothing else. That's basically every other thing. Just leave it. So you see, so now this, I like to remove this. I don't want any conflict. I'm not using it, so I like to remove it most times. So now with that done, everybody, all I'll just do is let me save. I'll save. All right, good. Then let's bring in the two other steps, which is now unpacking it. So you now unpack. So unpacking it is now unpacking it into DevOps. Right? Cool. So the same thing, you go back to your agent job, you click on this, and then you look for Power Platform, and then this time around, look for Power Platform unpack solution. Unpack. All right, see, unpack solution. So you see that every tool you need is available, right? Cool stuff. So unpack solution, and then it's asking you for the input file, guys. Simple stuff. What's the input file? The input file will be our output file here. So I'll copy this output file, right? This build artifact file. I'll copy it, and then now becomes my input file here. See, simple, right? And then for the target folder to unpack, for the target folder, so we're going to be using the same artifact, but this time around it will be a source directory. So we'll write that, create a variable, say build dot sources directory. Yeah, then I'll close that up. All right, then I'll do solution name. Yeah, solution name. Cool stuff. Solution name. So that's what we're unpacking to. Are you seeing that? So we're unpacking there, and then it's asking me, you are unpacking as what? So guys, because I am making this repository a source copy, a source control, it is always advised to make it unmanaged. Source control means so that I can clone it later. I might want to use, so you understand what I'm saying? So source control means it's something you want to be able to work on later, edit and all of that. So I will leave it there as unmanaged, because you see you can actually import as both elements, but let's just stick to this very simple step. All right, and then I will leave every other thing the way they are. Then the final step in this stage is now the step that will help you commit, that will push it to the branch you want to use. Branches are like repo containers within DevOps to help you hold project. So we'll push it there. I'll do command line, just do command. So you see that it's almost the same thing with what we've been touching base with in the course of our training, where we have Power App CLI, Cloud Shell of Azure, so because the command line then allows us to write different scripting models. So the same thing here, we're going to write a very simple command line to push, not only to push, to also commit. Commit means when you make a change, all right, you want to be able to you update that change on your repository, not update the whole project, but exactly add that new thing. For example, when we are done with this, we'll run this function, it will deploy the solution. We will then go back to our Power App solution, add a table, come back and run the pipeline again. You will see that that table will be committed now to that repository. Are you getting that? So let's bring in that function. I'll say echo. So this is my echo, used to be our PHP language. Echo commit all changes, all right, and we use git. So git is a version control tool, so we use git config user dot email. So I'll pass in my email address here now, all right, so that it knows that this is the there's an authentication to this already. So I'll do that. What else? Okay, then I'll do git config user.name. All right, I'll say automatic build. All right, and then let's do git checkout. So git checkout branch, then I'll put main. So that's my branch, git checkout main, and then git add. So this is where it adds the project file. So git add all. All right, and then git commit so solution, so solution initiate, and then push echo push code to repo. Yeah, push code to new repo. Cool. And then I'll do my git http dot extra header. This is my authorization line. So authorization, let me see. Okay, so this is like your token, all right, to authorize into that system. So I'll do system dot access token. Let me all right, then push it to origin, and that's my branch main. So let's look at what I have on the screen right now. Yeah, so git commit all my changes, authenticate through these credentials, right, which is me, then run the build to main, check out to main, and then add all the files. Then there's a commit. So there are times when it checks if by the time it's checking out the main, it looks at it. If there's a new element within the one I'm pushing, then it picks that one alone, commit it to the entire branch, to the repo, authorized through the authentication token, and then they push it to the branch. So in our case, the branch is the main branch. Cool. So that's that. So that is the step to pull the code to the branch, as it were, right, in this scenario. Now let's go to variables. So if you click on variables, everybody click on variables. All right, click on variables. So here we need to add that solution name. So here, or else it will fail. So you call the solution, call the key, and then for the value you put the solution name. So how do I get the solution name? I'll go to Power Apps. Let me go and look for this is the solution name, the schema name, or you can call it logical name. So I'll copy that, and then that's exactly what I'll paste in here. You see, following the same nomenclature, I'll paste that in there. All right, Then I'll save my pipeline. Okay, and that's literally everything when it comes to committing. Then let me check one more thing. By now, since I have the solution name, if I go to project settings and I go back to my repositories, and I go to that project under security, I should find this guy, project service, the one. Let me see. Views. Okay, I already allowed this. Let me see. There should be the one for that Power Apps DevOps. Let me check. Power Apps. Yeah. Okay, no problem. I think we're fine. Okay, I saw something now. Let me see. Okay, so Power Apps DevOps build service. So this guy. So I want to contribute. I will allow also. Yeah, I will allow also. Cool. So I will allow. So what I'm just doing is just more like giving access to say, you know what, allow contribution to this particular repository, and then even to the build service at the initial stage. So I'll just close all of that, and then let's go back to the pipeline we just created, the Power Apps DevOps CI. You can see it. Now I will run this pipeline. So let's run this pipeline. I will leave everything the way they are. I wouldn't change anything. And then let's run it. Hopefully the pipeline does not fail. And then let's check the agent job. So it should now go step on step. Might take a few minutes. It will go step on step, and then you will see how the step is going one by one. It will go into your environment, gather the project, run it, build it, export it for you, then come and unpack it. All right. Okay. Let's follow through. So it's currently exporting. Hopefully no error. Okay, there's already an error. Okay, so there's an error in the export. So we need to check what the error is. It says failed Microsoft Power Platform CLI. Okay, due to configuration made by admin or because you moved to a new location, you must use. Oh, okay. So see, so look at this now. So it's telling me that I can't do this because I need to authenticate through MFA. So which means it's no longer allowing that service connection I did. Are you getting me, everybody? So that service connection I did. Now I talked about it earlier, that Microsoft has changed the structure. So it's no longer allowing that MFA. That's why it failed. And on this step, it's not allowing this MFA. So it's expecting me to use service principal. So it means that I have to go and create a different connection. So to do this now, I have to go to, all right, this is going to be interesting. So let's take a step back. So we have to go to, I have the one I can use. But I think I'll just use it. And then I'll probably, maybe later we can show another video on how to do it. So normally, let me just do this. So let me show you, because I already have one I can use. So in creating my service connections, let me take you to Azure first. Let's go to Azure. So in my Azure, I have, first thing I would have done, which is, okay, let me just create one. Let's just do it. I'll go to enterprise applications. Everybody follow what I want to do now. I'll go to enterprise applications. All right, I have quite a few, but let me just create a new one. I'll do new application. All right, and I will do create my own application, and then let's just give it a name. Let's call it Power Apps. Let me say dev test. Power Apps dev test. Then I'm saying integrate any other applications you don't have. That's fine. So Power Apps dev test. I'll create it. Okay. Let's go. So you see that the error we had was that authentication error, which is good actually, because when I said it was that username and password is not a secured model. You see that Microsoft rejected. Now, so I've created this. So this is what we need. We need the application ID. we need the object ID. Now I'm going to copy them out because if I leave here, I might lose them. So I'm just going to copy these guys out to a notepad. Let me just copy them out. The app ID, just copy it out, and then the object ID. Let's copy the object ID also. All right, and then just paste it. All right, cool. So I've done that. Copy the app ID and the object ID out. So after doing that, after creating that, the next thing I will do is I'm going to go into let me see, let's do, or let me go into all services. Then I'll go to app registrations. Then I will click on owned application. Then I should be able to see it. Where's the guy? All applications. Then Power Apps Dev Test. So can you see it? Power Apps Dev Test. So I will open it up. Are you seeing what I'm doing, everybody? So Power Apps Dev Test. I'll open it up. Then I'll go to, first thing first, I'll go to API permissions, and I'll add two different permissions. The first permission would be the Azure DevOps permission. And then I will check the box that says user impersonation. I'll check that box. I'll add that permission. All right, and then I will add another permission. This one is Power Platform. I'll look for the Power Apps Runtime Service. I will add that also. All right, I should add one more. There is one for Dynamic CRM. But let me just add it. Not too sure, just to be on the safe side. So I'll just add it. So I've added all this permission to say, you know what, grant all of these guys such access. Then after that, I will now create a secret. So I have my app ID, I have my object ID. Then I need to now create what we call the client secret. All right, the client secret. I'm sure you saw. So you see that we are being forced to go this route now, right? The client secret. So I can just call it let me say Power Apps, right? Dev Test Secret. All right, and then let me just say let it be there for a year. I will add it, and I must copy the value out immediately, because if I leave this screen and I come back, that value will be gone. So I will copy the secret and paste it somewhere outside. Okay, fantastic. So I've done all of that, and I have an enterprise app registration and all of that. So what I would do is I now need to create what we call an application user. If you remember what we did under was it the Azure function, where we had to switch routes information, something similar, you will do it in here. Now it's not this difficult, all right? It's just some security things that needs to be put in place. Okay, so I'll go back to that environment, Adam's environment, and then I'll go to settings. So this thing, you have to do it for every environment you want to work with, every single one. So I'll go into this, and I'll go to users. I'll go to application users, and I'll create a new app user. And if I do add an app, watch, I would be able to see that Power Apps Dev Test. Can you see it? Power App Dev Test. So I will add the Power App Dev Test. Just select the organization I'm currently in. That's fine. And then I'll probably give it a role. Just give it maybe a system admin role or something. And then I will save. And then I will create. Okay. So with this done, I can now go back to my DevOps and then run a service connection through this. Are you getting what I'm saying now? So what we've created is we've created like a proper authentication method of accessing systems, right? So we can go back into Azure DevOps right now, and then I can run a different service connection, or let me see if I can edit this guy to use that same model. Okay, I won't be able to do that anymore. Yeah, true. So I'm just going to go back and I'll just do a new service connection. This time around now, I'm going to select Power Platform. Cool. Then I will now authentication the URL. Yeah, I didn't copy it out earlier. So I have to go back in here and get it. Come on now, environment. Okay, I'm just going to copy this out. Fantastic. Go back into DevOps. I'm going to drop that in there. Now it's asking me for all of this information, tenant ID and all of that. So let me go and get my tenant ID. My tenant ID, I would be able to. So to get your tenant ID, you go into your Power Platform environment, go into your default environment, and then you can see it here, environment ID. Everything after that default, see, that's your tenant ID. So I'll copy that, and then I'm going to just paste it in here. For the application ID, I copied it out earlier, remember? I'll copy it now and I'll drop it in here. Good. For the client secret, I'm sure you remember that. I'll copy the secret and then I'll drop the secret in there. Cool. And then for the connection name, I'm just going to call it new dev test. Cool. And then grant it all access and then save. Yeah, that's fine. So we have this now. We have this now with us, right? So if you come back in here to our pipeline, yeah, we can now use that new dev test. So I've checked the service principal. I've used the new dev test connection. Every other thing remain the way they are. Nothing is changed. All right. Every other thing remain the way they are. I'm going to just save that. All right. I'll save that. And I'll go back to my pipeline and I'm going to run the pipeline again through the same model. Hopefully there's no failure this time around and it goes through. All right, so let's wait, fingers crossed. Let's see what the result is. All right, so like I said, I play around this a lot. I try many things, follow through with what is going on. All right, there's no really a documentation out there to guide on what is expected or something like that. Just I use my DevOps experience just to come in and try a lot of things, around this and play around it, get a result and all of that. Okay. So this same error I got the error at the point of pushing to production before I knew that I have to go that route of application user, creating your client principals to be able to reach the result of having access like this. So let's see. Hopefully there's no error this time around. It's looking good. Fantastic. So we'll pass that stage. Excellent stuff. We'll pass that stage. We're good. Yeah. Everything is good. It's done. Artifact is done. Everything runs clean. Now let's go to the repository and let's see whether our solution is live in. So we'll go to repos, and yes, Power Apps DevOps is here. If I expand, our Canvas app is here. That's the only thing we have, right? The Canvas app is here. If I expand it, you can see your Canvas app, you see the XML content. Our Canvas app is live in here. Our solution is live on DevOps on our repository. You see the beauty now? So your Canvas app is there. So what if I go and make a change in the application? So if I go back to the solution and I open the solution and I had, so watch, we only have a Canvas app. So if I come in here and I maybe let's just add a table, right? Let's just add a table. Let me just add a single table, add, and I'll publish. So we have a table. So there's a new account table, publish customization, right? And then if I run the pipeline, it will commit. So it will commit all the changes directly into the repository. So that's our source control. It commits directly into the repository. Come on now, let's go. Sometimes you just have to take coffee, you know, while you wait for these things. Okay. All right, fantastic. So it's done, right? Good stuff. Now let's go into DevOps and then we'll just run the pipeline again, right? I'm just going to run the pipeline again. Yep, run the pipeline again. Beautiful thing, guys, is let me run this pipeline and I'm going to just show us something I'm just also working on very recently. Run the pipeline. So let's leave the pipeline. So it's running. When it's done running, we'll come and see the changes that was made. But while that is running, let me take us through something. I'm just going to run it. Let me open Power Automate and show us something I'm just working on recently, so you can see the beauty of what we can enjoy within the entire Microsoft ecosystem, right? I'm just going to go to create and I'll do, for now, I'm just going to do blank. I'll skip this for now. Let's go. Come on. Okay, so let's do this DevOps. Yeah. Look at this, guys. So there is in Power Automate, we have a DevOps connector. So which means, because you saw that I had to go to DevOps now and then yeah, it's done, right? You can see that I went to DevOps and I had to run the pipeline again, and then there's a commit. You can see a commit is done. If I go down to where's commit now? Repository, and I go to commit, right? I can see the change. See, this is the change that just happened. If I open that change up, watch, boom, I can see that a new entity was added, and that entity is what? Account. Can you see? So I can see the change. Are you seeing what is happening, right? So what you're doing within your Power Apps, you're seeing it inside your DevOps, live and direct, right? So I can see my commit, I can see my changes, everything is intact and good, right? Now, but I wanted to show us something inside where's the guy? Power Automate, right? See, I can actually run a Power Automate that will trigger the DevOps. Are you getting me? So I can say maybe when the code is pushed, so when the developer push the code and the code lands on that repository, something should happen. Power Automate will trigger DevOps to see when the code is pushed, when a code is checked in, maybe when the code is merged, something like that. So you can see. So for example, let me say when the pull request is closed, which means it's merged. If it is closed, right? Sign in. Come on, let's do this. Are you guys seeing the beauty of? Are you seeing how everything works together? It's about bringing seamless operations to what we do, right? So you put your organization name, your org name. See, you can see my org name. This my project name. Boom. Can you see? Power Apps DevOps. I pushed it in my repository. See, you see the beauty, right, guys? Like I'm putting everything right in my DevOps, in my automate. So I can say, okay, when a pull request, a PR is closed here, then what action do you want? Let's see. DevOps. Watch. DevOps. Actions. Let me say run pipeline. It should be somewhere there. See? List pipelines. Nobody. There should be something like run pipelines. Where's the guy? Yeah. So you can now create a new release. Maybe you want to now create a new release means push from maybe dev to production, push from dev to QA, or dev to test. See, you can now do all of these items. You can say, you know what, list all my runs in pipeline, and then you run a pipeline. Can you see the idea now? So like you can literally just not be doing any manual action at all. And then see, I'll put my org name again, and then my project name again, and then I should get my pipeline list. See, all I need to go and do is now put my pipeline ID, and then I would create another thing to maybe create a release of. Can you see that? This is something I'm working on. I'm still trying to do a lot of testing around it and use it for many things. But you see that Power Automate is available to make it better, right? I wanted to just give us that bonus just to show us that you can explore that. Okay, good stuff. I think let's end that first side here, right? Everybody, we've seen how we're able to commit our code. We have our folder now in this scenario. So our repository already contains our Power Apps project. You can see you can clone your project later. Maybe you now want to go back and work on it again, clone it as a zipped file, take it back to Power Apps environment, and then you continue working again. You see the beauty, right? Now, in terms of Git versioning, Git versioning is still experimental as I speak to you right now within the Microsoft ecosystem. All right. I'm currently working on something with a few guys on Git versioning. Let me show you something. It's something I'm about to work on. If I show you my GitHub, you will see that I'm creating something right now on it. Where's the guy? Where's this guy? Power Apps Canvas app. So you can see in my GitHub currently, I'm currently working on some, Git version is something. So I'm not there yet. I'm just working on it. But let me show you something that Microsoft is experimental. And if Microsoft says something is experimental, it's experimental. So that's why I'm experimenting it. All right. In terms of Git version control. But you see that, but in terms of DevOps operation, your ALM, your application lifecycle management, your pipelines, your CI/CD, everything is intact. That one works perfectly. So if I go to settings, everybody, and I go to upcoming features, experimental, and I scroll down, you will see where it says, where's the guy now? See, show the Git version control. So this is still experimental. Currently, by this weekend, I'm working with a few guys where I enabled this recently. So we're going to be working on the Power Apps together and then see how it works. I'll be working on the same app. Two of them will be working on the same app, and we'll see how that changes is happening on DevOps, and we're working on it. So it's something I'm still working on. So it's not, as you can see, it's experimental. It's not GA yet. It's not in general availability yet, but it's something that Microsoft has already indicated that is coming very soon. Okay, I hope that's clear. All right, so before we go to pushing to production, because that's the next thing I want to show us, before we go to pushing to production, let me get questions from anybody, or just what do you think, guys? Anybody on mute, let me know, what do you think about this?
Wow, 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 wow. I believe that was a wonderful one for you, right? You see that we're able to see how we could, commit or have our project live inside Azure DevOps. And then if you need those projects later on, you could clone them and all of that, right? What the tutorial again, follow through and then optimize your approach to, your Power Platform solution. In the next video or in the next tutorial, I'll be showing you how you can then, run pipelines that can help you create a release from one environment to the another. How do you move solution from one environment to another environment? Stay tuned for the next tutorial where I will be showing you that. Have a wonderful time. Subscribe, like, keep following us on this channel as we bring more tutorials to you like this. See you later. Bye.